Hello everyone, this is Dan from US MX Football here, and we have some Chelsea news to cover. Per The Athletic, shout out to David Ornstein, Chelsea are set to part ways with Jadon Sancho after his loan and paying the $5 million penalty. And on top of that, we also have some news about Liam Delap officially joining. His medical cleared on Tuesday, I believe. And he was unveiled today, not too long ago. So first with Sancho. So I had said in my Conference League video that that goal that he had scored was worth 25 million for that obligation to buy that we had set in place. But having said on that, maybe I got a bit ahead of myself. So the official reason given by the club was that they couldn't agree on a final wage, which leads me to believe that Jadon was asking for more than the club valued him at. So we know that at United he was on 250 grand a week, and we could imagine that he would have been asking for something in that ballpark, at the bare minimum, say 175, right? Now the problem is Sancho just turned 25 in March, and that's not old, but he should be just about hitting his prime, in my opinion. And compared to other players in our squad, he would also be one of the most experienced and, consequently, one of the highest paid. Essentially, he'd be on Reece James money, Enzo money, Caicedo money, Palmer money. And the problem being, though, that all those players have proven why they deserve that money. They're all guaranteed starters when fit. And Jadon, well, he just hasn't exactly improved year upon year, right? Okay, his Dortmund time was probably his most prolific, and that was when he was 19, 20, roughly 5 years ago. And we have seen that when fit, Jadon isn't exactly a guaranteed starter. He's a bench player at worst and a rotation option at best. He finished the season with 3 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League in 1,765 minutes. It's about 19 games. And then having played 31 in total. In the Conference League, he had 2 goals and 5 assists in 535 minutes, which is about 6 games. And overall, that's 5 goals, 10 assists in 2,426 minutes, which is about 26 games, 42 in total. And to be honest, that's just not impressive. Now, the problem I have is that in isolation, it's not bad. However, when you consider most of those Conference League games, you could have easily stat padded against the likes of Shamrock Rovers, Djurgården, Legia Warsaw, Noah. Yes, you got 1 assist against Legia. You got 3 assists over 2 games, so maybe that's not a good example, and 1 goal there, but did nothing against Copenhagen. Benched versus Shamrock. I guess it's not exactly his fault. 2 assists versus Heidenheim. So to be honest, I guess he was somewhat effective, but you really should be coming at least goal or assist in every game you played. Because we look over at someone like Mark Gu, who did 286 minutes, like half of that of Sancho, and finished with 6 goals. And I know half of those goals were against Shamrock Rovers, but at least he moved the needle. My point being here that as experienced and expensive as Jadon is, he just didn't produce enough clinical big moments for me to definitively say yes, 25 million is a bargain, pay it and keep him here. I think Neto and Madueke didn't have particularly good seasons, but Jadon was never able to definitively dislodge them and make himself a guaranteed starter. And when you're on loan, that should be your objective, right? To show us why you're the best, give us a flash of brilliance. You should be performing over expectations, really, when you're on loan, to show why we should keep you here. And I thought he just never did that. People talked about his shooting. I actually thought he was a pretty good shooter from what we saw. However, he just didn't take enough shots. He always just seemed a little bit hesitant to really get that end product. He was always doing maybe 1 too many step overs, holding on to the ball for just a bit too long. And to be honest, at this age, I would have hoped that he would have worked out those deficiencies in his game out, but unfortunately it's not the case. So we're not going to sign Jadon Sancho, and I'm honestly okay with it. Now moving over to Liam Delap, Chelsea have activated his £30 million release clause and have agreed a 6-year contract, and also given him the number 9. And also Cole Palmer will be wearing the number 10 for next season. So that's interesting. We saw he netted 12 in 37 with Ipswich last season. I think he adds a very different dynamic to our attack, to where there have been a lot of moments to where we've needed someone who doesn't necessarily run in behind, but can play with their back to goal and provide link-up play to our wingers or Palmer, right? And in that link-up play, also be an outlet for any kind of in-the-box aerial attacks. I think Jackson isn't bad in the air, but that's just not his strong suit. He's better at running in behind, almost like Lukaku, running in behind the channels, just much more aggressive in his pressing. He's not exactly an aerial threat. I think that's where we can utilize Delap more for our crosses in the box, because that is something we have been lacking. We haven't had that guy we can just whip balls into. When Broya was here, he wasn't exactly, scoring many headers. So I'm really excited to see what we can do with Delap, to see how he works. And we see this chart which breaks down his runs. And this is something that Jackson is he's a very big wide runner. But that's not exactly what we need, right? We have guys with pace on the wings ahead of the ball, which is kind of what we want, and coming short, and of course receiving crosses. So he just fits that build perfectly to what we need in the squad. I think completely different to Jackson. And we have seen in the compilations he is a decent dribbler as well. So I'm very excited, because should Maresca want to switch things up, he can definitely play Delap and Jackson, which is Palmer in behind, and maybe 2 wingers, or have just Palmer as the winger, but that is just super offensive. Or even just have James as a wing back and Cucurella providing a little width, maybe someone on that side to just help him out. But yeah, and use Jackson as a winger maybe. Just running in on the wings with James whipping in balls. It's really exciting what Delap can offer, right? So Ipswich will receive 20 million in upfront cash, which will impact the club's bottom line. The whole profit on the deal is recognized immediately, regardless of when Ipswich are paid. So yeah, looking at it tactically, I'm really excited. The differences Chelsea might be able to offer, because not only will it put pressure on Jackson to just become more consistent and overall more complete forward, it's going to give us so many different options to how we can form up our attack, right? We can have 2 strikers, we can just do Delap, we can just do Jackson, and it really depends on what opposition we might be needing. I can definitely see us against a low block team having just Delap, and then maybe Palmer and like a tricky winger. Honestly, I think Jadon might have been useful there, holding on to him, but we have other wingers who can definitely do that and unlock a defense, right? With the likes of Esteval coming in, who still might be a little raw, but against Premier League teams, he's such an unknown, so that's why he might be a bit of a benefit. So I think that's where we're going to kick off the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry if I sound a little bit under the weather, but like I said, I haven't been feeling too good. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.